Afternoon, Brendan.
Hi, Rob.
Just before we get into your own team, just wanted to ask you a question or a couple of questions about Jake Daniels, who came out yesterday, and how significant from a football perspective that feels both for the player and for the game as a whole.
Well, yeah, it was. I think it was another really step forward for us, not just in football, but I think in society and in general. I think for Jake, I'm sure he wakens up this morning and feels liberated and free to get on with his life how he wants to, without being judged, and just get on and succeed in life. So yeah, I think you see the reaction to it from many people around this sport, and football now. It's very open and has been developing over many years, and obviously for Jake and other young people that do want to come out, then hopefully this can be the start of that.
Obviously, it was a decision for him, but it's also a reflection on the environment he's in at Blackpool. And as a manager, do you feel you have a similar environment here that a player could come and talk to you about something like that, not necessarily just coming out, but anything that's going on in their personal life, and you can help them through big decisions that they want to make?
Yeah, I think my door has always been open to players, but I think the changing room environment here, it's very diverse, very open. We've led talks here with our leadership group, with myself, alongside our Foxes Pride LGBT group, and it's really about education. So that's something that has been ongoing here for a little while. And absolutely, I think every manager is that. They are that person, because I think now in football as a manager, you're not just a football manager. You know, you're a social worker, really, to an extent, where there's so many things other than football that can be burdens in life, and I feel that it's our job as managers to be able to be that arm of support for a player, and if it helps lift a burden, which allows them to get on with their life and be freer in life, and obviously allow them to play sport and football to the best level they can. That's our job.
Onto your own team. 10 years ago tomorrow, Jamie Vardy became a Leicester player, and his continuing influence has been demonstrated over the last couple of games. I just wonder where you see in terms of Leicester City greats and Premier League greats, what he's given to this club and to the division since he's been here.
Well, I think he's a real icon of Leicester and of the league. I think his journey coming into professional football at 25 and scoring his first Premier League goal at 27, and then to go on and score the goals that he has and have the impact that he has. He truly is such a unique player. We've seen it before with other players like Ian Wright coming through and playing at the highest level and top strikers. But Jamie's story, like you say, from playing in the qualification games and the FA Cup to going on and winning the FA Cup to winning the Premier League to playing in Champions League, European football. He really is a great of this football club. But I also think of the Premier League, you put him up there with the top strikers. And thankfully, you've seen him in his last few games that he's now getting his fitness. Unfortunately for us, he hasn't been able to play as much as we would have liked this season. But you see the impact that he would have had on our team, because the pace is still there. His cuteness, his cleverness, and his bravery is still very much there. So, yeah, clearly a great signing for the club back then, from Nigel and the team of people behind that took him in, and £1 million is an absolute bargain when you look 10 years later.
When you reflect on how often you've been without him, but also so many key players this season, would finishing 8th represent an achievement of sorts? I know that you set hugely high standards by finishing 5th twice and winning a cup as well, but would it feel in a different type of way an achievement to end the season in 8th?
Yeah, absolutely. I said that if where this team, the level that the team have been at for these last few years, they've set a really, really, high level in terms of performance and what they've achieved. And of course, you can be held against that, but we also have to contextualise the season. And if you contextualise it around players that haven't been available and everything else, for us to finish 8th when everyone talking about what a disappointing season we've had, then that really shows where this team have been elevated to. And really some may say, well, is that judgment fair when you consider, what the challenges that we're up against and clubs and budgets and everything else? But the reality is that's where the team have gone. So, and it's very clear the areas that we need to improve in. So if we can finish in the top 10, have got into a European semi-final with all the difficulties and challenges we face this season, I think that's another really good season for Leicester City and gives us a great base for the summer to go and hopefully strengthen again, get some work done on the training field, and then get ready for a really positive season again next year.
Just a final one for me on Chelsea. I know we've spoken a few times over the past few months about the disruption and everything that's been going on off the field at your former club. Have you got a sense that maybe in the past few weeks it has sort of filtered down to the players and that some performances on the pitch have been affected by everything else that's happening?
Listen, I'm a big admirer of Chelsea and the team and the work that Thomas has done there. I would actually go as far as saying they're the best team that we played. When we played them earlier on in the season, when they're top of their game, I thought they were outstanding. And from that moment, or not long after that moment, they've lost some players. I've said it before, even squads like Chelsea, you need your top players available. And over the course of the time, when they've had players out, key players that makes their systems function to the highest level. And then obviously the distractions going on behind the scenes, then of course that's always a challenge. But what I do know is they've got an outstanding manager who's done a fantastic job since he's been in there. They've got a group of really, really good players, top talents. I see them again losing in the final, but there's so much courage because they keep getting there. And you'd rather be in there fighting and losing finals. Of course, you want to win, but you'd rather be in there, arriving there, knowing that it's going to drop you away, and you're going to win in the future. So top team, top players, and again, they're in the Champions League for next season, and I expect them to be up there challenging again next year.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Cheers, Rob. It's Rob from Premier.
Hi, Brendan.
Hi, Rob.
Across the season, how do you feel you performed against the sort of top 4, top 5, as you say, the clubs with budgets that are beyond Leicester at the moment?
Yeah, I think we've had some good games. We've obviously won some, lost some. So yeah, look at Manchester United. We played very well against them. Chelsea, in the last game we played against them, they were, like I said, that was the best performance that has been against us. Some of the other teams we've had good performances, not got the results, but pretty much probably like what our season has been, a little bit inconsistent. Some very good performances and lost in other games.
Team news-wise, how are you going on?
Probably just one or two from the weekend. We'll wait and see tomorrow where they're at. Like so, Yuri obviously had a clash of his knee. Hamza's still out. Papi Mendy should be back in. Obviously, we had to take him off with illness in the game. And we'll see how Ricardo Pereira is back training, and we'll see if he's available.
Is it another opportunity to let Danny Ward have another game and see if he can impress? And obviously, he's had to wait a long time. Is it another chance for him? Yeah,
no, Casper will play. I've said the other day that the plan was for Casper to play in the final 2 games. Unfortunately, Danny couldn't play in the Norwich game, but I think he proved the other day that he's an outstanding keeper. Things he had to do in the game, his stature in the goal in the game was excellent. So no, but Casper will play. I've told him he'll be playing in Chelsea and Southampton.
You praised James Maddison after another brilliant performance against Watford. What do you think he's added to his game and I guess his personality this season? Because like you say, the numbers are quite frightening actually, and that's what I remember him telling us about sort of 12 months ago, that he's kind of obsessed with improving his numbers, and it seems to have worked.
Yeah, well, that's day to day hard work. I think the turning point for James, he came to probably the very first time in his young life as a player, where he felt vulnerable. Early in the season, he not at the level that he wanted to be, and I remember clearly a game against Brighton where, for him and for me, and the knowing the level it can be at, he just wasn't himself. And that was the game that he's spoken about before, or the time when we sat down and stripped back his game and just gone back to the fundamentals of football, and what is important in that, in terms of running and pressing and aggression. Because once you have all of that in your game, then the other attacking stuff will just follow suit. So that's what he concentrated on. Focusing hard on his training, on his work. And then from that, the harder you work, it's the confidence comes into your game, and when you're confident, you have a greater chance to succeed. And so I think that was a real turning point for him, because it's not easy to accept that. Lots of players would have been turning around blaming everyone, but and that's why. And what I love about James is he's a very honest player. Of course, he has personality, but every top player has that. You have to have that personality to go into any environment, home or away, and show your quality. But he also showed that he had great courage, because he had to be vulnerable in that moment, and he shone the torch in on himself and what he needed to do. And he always knows here he has an environment where we will support him in that. And then he's worked ever so hard to get back to the level. And like you say, with 2 games to go, he's posted great numbers in terms of goals, assists, but also making out and doing his work for the team, and that's equally important.
You mentioned the word honesty there. Did he kind of come to you then and say, look, I need a bit of help here, whether it's looking back, maybe you showed him some of his many highlights, or just kind of built it back up?
Yeah,
just coming to you and being proactive.
Yeah, that's it, just talking. And again, that's what I'm saying, that's a lot of courage to do that. I'm happy that he feels he come and do that, because that's why we're here. We're here to help the players become better and improve. But it just needed honesty and a good, honest conversation, and talk around his game and where he needs to be at to perform consistently at a level. But then you have to go away and do the work, because I always say I look to what players do physically, and that's normally their commitment mentally, because sometimes players can tell you what it is they want to achieve and what it is they want to do, and then you look at them and they're not doing a great deal about it. But him, in fairness to him, he knew what he wanted to, where he wanted to be, and he's went away and worked very, very hard at that, on and off the pitch. And you see his performance level, his numbers, like you say, has been absolutely fantastic.
And just finally, for me, last chance to play in front of the away fans who've travelled many miles for you this season. I think generally have had a great season. How much have you appreciated that?
Yeah, it's been absolutely great. The Vicarage Road, the end was full and gave us great support. And like I said, it's our 56th game of the season, and they've had some great memories, especially in some of the European games. And it's been great to be able to take Leicester into Europe and again around the country. So yeah, be great to see them, and they really push us and hopefully support us to another really good performance. Thank you.
Cheers, Rob. We'll go to Charlie.
Thanks, Johnny.
Hi, Charlie.
A couple of awards for Kieran just last night. Can you speak to the kind of journey that he's had this season and what kind of footballer you might think you have going forwards?
Yeah, he came back very determined. I think when I first arrived in here, he was getting the Young Academy Player of the Year, which was great, but he lacked experience of football under pressure. He went out, and we knew he was a talent, but he came back with a real appetite and hunger after his loan spells over the 18 months, and then it was just about being patient. We've had players. You think of what we achieved over a couple of years. So those players, Yuri Tillmans, Wilfred Ndidi, James Maddison, were players that were playing at a really high level. So it was going to be difficult, maybe straight away, to break in. But he took the eye in training, his appetite, everything about, and that's what you want to see in a player. You want to see that hunger to play. They're not just accepting that guys are in front of them. And then it was a time in the season where we just needed energy and a real attitude in the game. And when he came in, he's been ever present ever since. So at Southampton. So he's been a real breath of fresh air. His colleagues have seen that as well, and voting for the Players' Player of the Year. And he's still got lots of improvements to make, but he's shown he has the appetite to make them. And he will go on now and add hopefully many more appearances to the 40 or so he's already got.
I know you touched on this briefly with Rob about possibly finishing 8th, but could you kind of sum up the season for me as a whole as to what sort of a battle it has been for you, and it has been a battle at times, but ultimately how you think you'll, come sort of Sunday evening feel about it?
Yeah, but what comes Sunday evening, I'll be really, really looking forward to the pre-season and getting going. I've, as I said, I highlighted the players. I've got nothing but admiration for them. That's been a challenge, and especially when you set the bar as high as these players have done over these last couple of years. We've been on a historical journey in the 3 years we've worked together. Been a lot thrown at us as a group this season, but as I said, contextualise everything, and it can end up being still a really good season for Leicester City as a football club. So yeah, and really, where we've been, we will fight. Then we know there's more challenges for us next season again. Other clubs with greater finances aligned with the top 6, but that really whets our appetite to get as fit as we can, as strong as we can, as robust as we can in the summer, and then come back and look to disrupt the market again. And hopefully we can add players that'll give us quality and give us depth, and then have a real goal for next season.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Over to Owen from Radio Leicester.
Hi.
You mentioned talk about Kieran Dewsbury Hall with Charlie just a few moments ago, but I wonder what kind of testament it is for him to be awarded the Players' Player, as you say, voted by his teammates, and on what they think of him having broken through this season.
Well, I think it'll mean a hell of a lot. I think when your peers give that recognition to your work, then of course it means a hell of a lot. And when he was voted last night, I think he was pretty speechless, really, because he is a player's player. He's one that he puts the work in, and alongside his quality, he gives so much to the team. So it means a lot to him. As I said, one of the first awards evening that I had here 3 years ago, he was presented with the Academy Award. So to get the Players one 3 years later, having established himself as a very important member of our first team squad, it's a great recognition for him. But I also know in our conversations that we've had that for me it's about keep improving. He's 23 now, so he's not 18, 19. It's taken him a wee bit of time, but now he's in. I know he has the appetite to be improved and get better. He knows this game is that if you stand still in it, someone takes your place. And he's very determined to not let that happen. So yeah, I'm delighted for him. He's an absolute joy to work with. A great young guy who will keep improving and getting better.
We were speaking to him earlier today, and you can sense that drive, that determination in him to really want to go and push himself. And he said he wanted to take his game to the next level next season and really keep pushing. From his manager's point of view, how does he do that? What does he have to improve to take his game to the next level now?
Goals and assists. I've said it. The players have said it to my white players. Have said to the midfield players, to James Maddison, when you're an attacking player and you're playing the position that Kieran plays in, you need to create goals and score goals as well as press the game. So that's something that he can add to his game, and also the education of football, understanding and getting a better view of the game. That will come with experience. Tactically, he's improved a lot, understanding the game at the highest level and the tempo and the speed of it all. So he's only going to get better. He's broken into the team, keeps that hunger. We're going to have more time working with him next year, coaching on the field and improving a lot of the details in his game. But if he can add more assists, more goals to his game, and add that to the already natural part of his game, then I'll see his development continue.
Is that something, as you say, because he's improved so much tactically in his education of the game, is that something, the goals and assists that will come naturally with that, or is there something else that he has to do? Is it a more conscious thing in game that to help him get into those areas?
Yeah, it's just arriving into the box that little bit more. Sometimes not, lots of young players, they want to have the ball at their feet, and we encourage them to see the view of the game without the ball, so they can arrive into the area to score more. So it's just recognising he's done that on a number of games this season, but it's keep making those runs, keep arriving in there, and the opportunities will come for you, and then it's about taking them. He scored some really good goals, but like I said, we want to keep improving that, and that's just about time and experience and quality.
You said Hamza Chowdhury was still out with an injury. Well, what injury is that for Hamza?
Yeah, he picked up a groin. Hamza's been a fantastic player for our squad this season. He's probably trained more than any player that we've had. You won't have seen too much of him in the games, but he's been a great support for a lot of the players. And unfortunately, just the other day before the game, he just felt his groin. We had a scan on it. He's got a slight sort of tear there. So yeah, which is a shame because, like I said, he's been virtually fit right the way through. He's played in a few positions for us, and yeah, it's just unfortunate this last period that he's missed out.
Final one, Brendan. You played Chelsea at this exact stage last season, directly after the FA Cup final, and I wonder about how different a team you might think that they are now, how far they've come under Thomas Tuchel. Because as you said earlier, that you said that one of the better teams that you've played this season. Yeah,
and I still think they are that. If you think a few weeks after we beat them in the FA Cup final, they became European champion. So they've got a fantastic squad. For me, at the beginning of the season, they were up there with Manchester City, Liverpool, as having the squad depth and the quality of squad. And like I said, at that time earlier in the season, you remember they were beating Juventus and doing really, really well, played us, and it was, that was a team that had everything in terms of technique, good tactical idea of how they wanted to play, the power in the game, the energy in the game, and it was a team that functioned at the really top level. So they then lost important players, and it just shows you even the biggest teams, when you lose important players, then it disrupts the game. But they started to get a few of those back, and I'm sure come the pre-season, Thomas will be looking forward to getting the squad together and looking to challenge up there at the very top again. So yeah, but they are what they are, which is a Champions League team, Champions League winner only a year ago. So that tells you everything about the depth of their quality.
Brendan, thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you. Thanks.
Cheers, then we'll wrap up the first section there and move into section 4, newspapers. Let's get started.
Brendan, would you say this has been your toughest season in terms of player availability or whatever? Just when you think everyone's back, there seems to be another injury. It's just been really difficult every week to keep that same squad, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's something that the availability has been a challenge, of course. I think I said it before,